I confess, how did I get back at my former mother-in-law? I used to give him a blowjob every time she called. Those phone calls didn't last long.
Sex. Almost everybody does it, and almost nobody talks about it, except at BedPost Confessions, a live storytelling series based in Austin, Texas. Whether the performers are funny, informative, political, or completely personal, the anonymous confessions from the audience are the stars of every show. Stories heard at BedPost Confessions explore themes of sexuality, gender identity, dating, marriage, masturbation, breakups, health and wellness, and more. Whether the story is hysterical or downright emotionally raw, we hope BedPost Confessions will either spark a fantasy or start a conversation. Maybe even both.
All right, people, are we ready for Kim TallBear? Kim TallBear, critical polyamorist. Kim is a citizen of the Sisseton-Wahpeton Oyate. She's an associate professor at the Faculty of Native Studies and a Canada Research Chair. She blogs on the politics of science, technology, and other Indigenous-related topics, and is a co-producer of Tipi Confessions. She's hot, she's brilliant, and she's an amazing woman. Give her a hand. Welcome her to the stage.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. We really, you're just such a great audience. So I'm going to read you some critical polyamorous 100s from my formerly anonymous blog, and I got some courage when I moved up here to be open about this. My land love is the prairie. My water loves its rivers. In 2014, 1 year into my autoethnographic polyamory practice, I started writing the hundreds as a more creative addition to my critical polyamorous blog. The hundreds began with human sexual relations. Later, I moved to also writing about body-place connections. Some call polyamory, quote-unquote, ethical non-monogamy. Of course, that term, as African diasporic feminist Zakiya Jackson reminded me, implies that monogamy is ethical. I think it is mostly not. It is violently imposed by the settler state. It is largely compulsory, not actually a choice for most of us. Polyamory, in my Indigenous and Dakota translation, is about multiplicity, but not only in human relations, also in multiple relations with place. So I reject the usual definition of promiscuity as random and indiscriminate. To be promiscuous is to seek abundance through partial connections. It is openness to multiple human loves, and or to deep connection with other than humans, with the lands and waters of our hearts. Multiamorous relations are not always about sex. We love sex unapologetically and without shame here at Tipi Confessions. But our indigenization of the erotic does not privilege sex among intimacies. There are many ways to relate. Routing oneself respectfully between multiple bodies is another ethical roadmap. So join me. Admit that you are multiamorous. I have stories to tell you. Mine each have 100 words. So I hope you leave here tonight inspired to make some new stories with words, maybe with bodies, maybe with each other, here tonight in Vancouver. Number 1. Temple. Henry is gentle. When his shirt came off, I was unprepared for the marks on his body. Bites and bruises on his neck. Scratches down his back and arms, dried blood tracks gouged and routing, crisscrossing his topography. My breath sucked in. My fingers played the air, then lightly his wounds, did they hurt? I felt several things in quick succession. Shock, twinge of disgust, then warming anger. Who would mark him with even a small violence? And he would submit? He apprehended the complex brew in my eyes. With a half smile, he said, "Oh, you should see her." Number 2, Austin. She was not drunk. As full as her breasts was her heart. Genevieve breathed, "You're pretty. I'm gonna dance." She rose from where she'd squeezed between our 2 sets of thighs. May's palm polished her bottom. G sashayed away on so much leg and heel. Spring scent fluttered across the thrift store pearl snap of bearded dude at the bar. He eyed her over his Lone Star. Not 1, not 2, but 6 glossy heads at a table followed her, undulating at 55. 12 eyes set upon her, nervous, grew embryos of horror. When they hunger over bridal magazines, Genevieve will haunt them. Number 3, sex orexia. She summoned him. They arranged the night. She needed deep, hard, whole body contact. A withering love had turned dry and small and bitter, its leaves strewn dead about the rooms. Surprised, he obliged with his own adept form that would tend her body to a light, lush thing. From gym to bed he came, sprinkling clean sweat onto her. Her eyes soon turned from imbibing into mirrors shiny and pained with her desire. Stop. Okay. He took her home, of course. What did I do? The right thing, I told him. What sorrow? Her hunger, her sustenance, shame her. Number 4, fidelitas. I seek multiple tongues. Desires cross time zones. Body stretches like wings over white light nets between peaks and a black, deep sea. Our life giver. When my first land love body sleeps on the Twitter feed, intermittent with shots and false dreams, I turn to a European dalliance, mouthing into morning headlines of violence in the streets of empire. Asia Pacific spins to the hard day's end. I'm already here. Together we glitter and toast the close of year, though we remember grief no less. My fidelity is no one relation bliss. I won't ask everything. Partial sustenance. Stories forged together. Shared pleasure. Number 5, Ice City. A million crisp stars hung silent in blue-black depths. Zoom in, planet, city, flesh. We are noisier. Our mouths commingle laughter, syllables, breath. Warm fingers shed cocoons to touch. We will soon seek heat in the crooks of limbs, but first at the heart of the sub-zero city we rush to tapestried rooms, luxurious with lamps and scents. The hours, the table filled with gossip and curries, red, neon, closed. So we whoosh in a salt wash capsule through a grid of red, green, yellow. Quiet engine, cold seeps, tongues of fennel. We ascend. I straddle him. We are aloft the imperial anthem, ice glass, alabaster. Number 6, South Prairie City. I will kiss you if we hold this embrace. In a cicada night, in a wet wrap of heat, her peppercorn eyes. Should we? I want to. We too covet boots, enunciations, and dresses. We never don't touch. We will soon seek heat. We will feed each other stories how after years of marriage, the gaps grew wide and we burn. Our tongues roll together, delicious like a million words in our years-long intercourse. Our hands play swells under fabric. South wind too presses in. We three animate possibilities. Self-forgiveness. We left good men we could no longer live with. The hardest thing we have done. Number 7, sex ergonomics. What is your favorite position? Dominus Blue commanded. It depends. Bodies fit together differently. I like my hair pulled, but I didn't know until my firefighter roped it round his wrist to tether for rear-end thrusting action. I thought breasts were my lubrication until hardcore Alberta cyclists neglected them, needing instead my bottom like bread dough. Huge hands. I didn't know I could love a smaller woman's body than I did. I didn't know the drug of melting chocolate with 2 tongues until the monogamist who kissed hard through his suffering before he left me and his wife for that homeschooling mom. My final 100, number 8, retribution. Inching, breaking again. Collateral damage behind trepidatious cat lady bumper sticker graffitied Priuses on the streets of Berkeley. Oh, I am about to scream. I restrain myself in the back of the yellow cab. Ding, a text from him, back on the Texas plains. Did you mean to give me a hickey on my penis? I WebMD'd it. It's like accidentally discovering you have talent for stopping time. Or invisibility. He'd have to hide from his wife for days. Wife. I've since learned a cheater's signs. Satirical, celestial script writers dinged him. I, too, hear their gentle admonition. Mea culpa. Thank you.
BedPost Confessions is produced by Julie Gillis, Mia Martina, and Sadie Smythe. Audio production is by Ian Danskin. You don't have to attend a show to confess. With our confession scroller, you can confess with us anytime on our site at bedpostconfessions.com. Also pick up a copy of our anthology, BedPost Confessions, Real Sex, Real People, Real Stories, which features 35 stories and hundreds of audience confessions. BedPost Confessions, the anthology, found on Amazon in print and ebook. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and if you have a sec, please help bring BedPost Confessions to more people by rating the podcast. You know how it works. More ratings and reviews equals higher podcast ranking equals more confessions. Thanks for your support, and until next time, we will leave you with a few other confessions from the audience.
I confess I haven't had sex in 4 years. You should help me with that, winky face.
I confess, before my boyfriend and I got together, I dreamt that we had sex after my tribal ceremonial. We plan to recreate that dream next ceremonial.
I confess I came here thinking I would be attending a performance of scholarly theater. What? Fuck? Read the fine print.